shares of Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are recovering after the recent sell-off triggered by a slowdown in the sales of weight loss drugs. However, our next guest remains bullish on the sector. For more, we're going to bring in Evan Seigerman, Managing Director at BMO Capital Markets. Hi, good to see you, Evan.
Good morning. Good to see you as well.
Now, let's just get an overview on the weight loss drug market. How big is it at the moment?
It is growing. I mean, it is pretty significant. I think for fourth quarter, for example, Lilly believes that Zepbound could be about $2 billion. Novo Nordisk products are probably another $2. So we're talking in the range of, $10 to $15 billion in 2024, going to grow significantly next year as well. And of course, our peak sales are still at about 150 plus billion across markets globally.
Now, weight loss drugs really have been a household conversation the last couple of years, or you're watching an awards show and you see some celebrity come out having lost a lot of weight. The first comment is, oh, it must have taken Ozempic. So is there growth left in the sector? How is it faring overall right now?
There's definitely growth left in the sector. I think what was really interesting were some comments from CEO Dave Ricks, who's the CEO of Lilly, at an investor conference in San Francisco yesterday. They actually came out and cut their 2024 guidance, which were the numbers that I was referencing, on slower demand. That's kind of going against exactly what you're saying. Is there still more demand? There is still more demand. The system's very complicated, and Lilly's still working through that. They kind of highlighted this on their 3Q call. We saw script numbers were a little slow in 4Q, so I wasn't totally surprised, but they're more bullish come 2025.
All right, Evan, speaking of Lilly, you've got an upside scenario and a downside scenario. Let's start with the upside. What does that look like?
The upside scenario, well, let's talk about our price target. Our price target's just north of $1,000 US. That, assumes good growth in their incretin business. So that is Zepbound and Mounjaro. Mounjaro, is the diabetes version of the drug. Zepbound is the obesity version. It also assumes growth elsewhere in the business. To get beyond that, you need to see hypergrowth and really taking significant share, say, from Novo Nordisk. I'd also like to see, success in their phase 3 oral obesity asset, orforglipron. That data is coming mid-year. On the downside, what could really go wrong? Well, I think, the obesity market's going to be there, but there'll be a lot more, there could be a lot more players, in a bad scenario for them, or Novo Nordisk could take more share, or something like orforglipron couldn't work. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm more kind of in that, my price target scenario of $1,010 per share, but those are interesting things to talk about.
Evan, you may have mentioned it already. I may have missed it, but there's a new pill they're working on and may get approval. What's the name of it?
That's orforglipron. We were just talking about that. That's my upside and downside scenarios.
Right.
That data is coming mid-year. That could help, expand the market because it's easier to get to patients. It's easier to take. It's easier to manufacture. There's a lot of great things. There are definitely going to be lots of patients who prefer the once weekly injection, or if we get to a point where we have a once monthly injection, they may want that. But a pill is definitely going to be very important for this market.
Okay, and then the downside scenario potentially has the stock going to around 600. Why?
Right. Orforglipron doesn't work. They, lose share to Novo Nordisk. They lose share to Amgen if their product gets approved. So basically, the market becomes more compressed, and they suffer as a result.
And would you say that Lilly is wary of over-promoting Ozempic and some of their other drugs? And if so, why is that? Are they worried about regulators? Why would that be?
Well, Lilly doesn't sell Ozempic. That's Novo Nordisk. So there would be Zepbound. It's all right. It's kind of like a household name these days. It's Zepbound and Mounjaro. I don't, in the United States, pharmaceutical advertising is legal. There's obviously a lot of constraints around it. It's something they thought they didn't have to do last year because of all the buzz that you were talking about. I think they are now starting to do that because they need to get that brand recognition. Case in point right now, Zepbound is their product, not Ozempic, to get patients on their product, and get them talking with physicians.
Yeah, sure. I was mixing up the two, Novo and
Lilly.
It's all good. Who are some of the other players here maybe nipping at their heels?
Sure. I think Amgen is definitely a potential big player. They had some phase 2 data late last year for the drug called Maritide. So this could be a longer acting product, What I think is important here is the fact that it could be used less frequently. So say once monthly or once every other month, which would be great for a patient, especially in the maintenance phase. Pfizer has an asset, danuglipron. And of course, I covered this company Structure with their own small molecule asset similar to orforglipron.
Now, when these drugs first started coming out, there was some talk that we're going to see eventually all sorts of side effects. And we have seen lawsuits based on people really struggling. But how big a threat is that in terms of some sort of class action lawsuit, or is that not really an issue?
So I don't see that as an issue. And the reason why is because GLP-1s have been on the market since, I want to say, 2007 or so. These products have been used in diabetes for nearly 2 decades. And we haven't seen any serious issues that would cause some sort of a lawsuit as you're describing. Yes, these are serious drugs that need to be given under real medical supervision and care. And I think that's where a lot of folks go wrong. It's really dangerous to just go online and get a compounded drug, which is a whole other issue, without medical care, without medical supervision, because if given improperly, they can be dangerous. And
maybe you can settle a debate I was having with somebody who said that when you take Mounjaro or Ozempic, it makes you nauseous, and that's what it does. And I said, I don't think it makes you nauseous. It can, but it doesn't make everybody nauseous, does it?
It does not make everybody nauseous. It's about 20–30% of patients, depending on the trial. And the reason why people actually get nauseous is because these drugs slow how your stomach empties. So if you have too much food in your stomach and it's not being emptied, you're not going to feel so well. So yes, there are always going to be patients with side effects. You can look at the labels, but for the majority of patients, they don't have these bad side effects.